let's start with the early game on Saturday. We're going to be watching number 1 Florida, number 1 Auburn. It is at 6:09 in San Antonio. Florida laying 2.5. Florida is -150. Auburn is +125. Your total is 160.5. So this is it. We got to choose a winner. I can't decide if I want to. Well, now the money line is at -160, but laying 2.5, I feel like is something I'm willing to do with Florida. I just believe they have the size to hang with Auburn. I believe that this is a team that, because they are battle-tested, because of that incredible comeback against Texas Tech, they're playing with supreme confidence and motivation right now. And obviously, they beat Auburn earlier this year when they were a little bit shorthanded. I know it's difficult whether it's 2 or 3 times you face a team during a season to win all those games, because Auburn is also very talented with Jedi Broom, but I think I'm going to be on the Gators here.
I think I'm going to be on the Gators as well because, number one, they just match up really well against Auburn because they have the size to contend with somebody like a Jedi Broom, Dylan Cardwell, and they have the high-end guard play from Walter Clayton Jr. Feels like him and Cooper Flagg and probably like 3 other players on Duke are like the best individual players in college hoops right now. So when you have somebody who can take over a game late, like we've seen Clayton do in some of these other games, that gives me some added confidence down the stretch because I do think this is going to be a close game.
Yeah.
Like, of the 2 games, I feel like I would be less shocked if there was an upset in this Florida-Auburn game. And obviously the line, suggests that. It's only a 2.5-point line. I wouldn't be shocked if Auburn wins, but if I'm betting my money on it, I'm putting my money on the Gators.
Yeah. Oh, now I'm seeing you can get the money line at -150. I'm laying the juice. I like it a juice.
Well, Jenks, we've talked about this multiple times, is that you can bet this in so many different ways.
Yeah.
Is that instead of maybe taking Florida at -150, I think if you name the contestants in the national championship, so Duke and Florida, it's basically a money line parlay. That's +150. Would you rather do that? But I know that you have some money on Houston.
I do. That's the thing. I mean, I guess you could kind of hedge a little bit and have some fun with it. So that's not a bad way to do it. That would be a smart money play, especially in the position that I'm in, where I have Houston at 6-1 to win it all. So I'm definitely going to be rooting for the Cougars in that late game. One of the reasons I do like the Gators outright here is that against ranked opponents this season, you talk about battle-tested, they are 10-2 straight up. That is the best mark in the entire country for teams that have played at least 10 of those games. So generally, against high-end opponents, Florida finds a way to win, which is another reason why I kind of like the money line. But then again, it is $1.50 compared to if you want to combine Duke, Florida, and then maybe get some plus money there. Are you doing that?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I think I have some bets to sort through, but I think, like, my hypothesis is I think Florida and Duke win.
Yeah.
I think that we continue to see the chalk be the play, and it just feels like those are the 2 best teams going into the tournament, and I feel like they've kind of proven all the narratives that have been surrounding them, right?
Yeah.
So the narrative going into the tournament was Florida is the deepest team, and they also have Walter Clayton Jr., and that's been the case. They outmatch everybody, even against, like, Maryland, who had a really good starting 5. And same goes for Duke. Have we found any cracks, in the cement for Duke?
I don't think
so.
so.
I feel like we've been waiting for that, and we say, okay, they look really good, but they played in the ACC. So far, it's been smooth sailing for Duke in the tournament. So it just, until proven wrong, Duke looks head and shoulders above everybody else to me.
That is true. I will say that the only thing I would add is that Duke, compared to other teams, and we talked about this before the tournament, had a much easier path to get to the tournament final.
Right.
So it's like you've got arguably the best team in the country, and of course, as it is each and every single freaking year, like the easiest path to get to the Final Four. So what's going to happen if Duke gets a challenge? Like every other team, I feel like in this tournament, in this final, has had a challenge at some point or another. How will Duke respond if they are challenged down the stretch?
Well, here it is. Houston, most physical defense they've
That's what
faced.
I mean.
And probably the most physical defense in the country. So this defense, all of the numbers are great. And you see that with other defenses as well, because people say that about, Tennessee has a great defense as well. No, it's not on the level that we see from Houston. The physicality, the size. And plus, these are veteran guys. Like a lot of these names for Houston, you've been seeing for the past few years. They certainly have the tournament experience. But when you look at Duke's players, like it's almost reminiscent to me of some of those Kentucky teams in the past that were really good. Like even the team with like Anthony Davis, where they just were so long and so tall, and they've got the rim protectors down low, because as good as the guard play is, they have the guys that can get the offensive rebounds and get the second chance looks that even when their shots aren't falling, which most of the time they are a good shooting team, they're going to be able to get those second chance looks. So I just think that if anybody has the size and athleticism to beat this Houston defense, it's probably Duke.
Yeah, it probably is. But I'll make the case for the Cougars. I need the Cougars to cover this number. This is a big number, I think. So right now,
5.5.
5.5, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Duke is laying 5.5. They're minus 250 on the money line. Houston is 2-1 and went outright, and your total is 136.5. I think this game is going to be decided by, especially if you're talking about within the number, who controls the pace. It's going to be very fascinating because Duke loves to score a ton of points. They can move the basketball. Houston will be just the opposite, right? It's going to be a real contrast in styles where the Cougars want to slow things down and lock you down. They'll be efficient offensively, but they don't want to go up and down the court with Duke. They want to play their game, which is, all right, let's slow things down a little bit. Let's frustrate you offensively. Then we'll be efficient and eventually wear you down with our defense. Also, two things here. The Cougars have won 17 straight games. They were undefeated on the road in conference play. And I don't know how much you can put this into your handicap, but as much of a home court advantage that you can have in a basketball game, in a Final Four game, this is going to be it. They're playing in San Antonio in the Alamo Dome. That is not far from Houston. It's a drive from Houston. Not a quick drive. What? I should know my geography better being from Texas, but you're talking about a few hours here. So easily drivable from H-Town to San Antonio. So if any team has a home court advantage, it's going to be Houston. I don't know what that is worth if you're talking about points or keeping it with the number, but I'm going to stick with Houston here, and I'm going to grab the 5.5.
I think you can make a case that maybe it's going to be a closer game because you've got to remember that we're at the Final Four now. And I understand that people have said, oh, it's been favorites. Oh, it's been chalk. But now it feels like we truly got the 4 best teams in America. And I think these games are going to be really good. Mm-hmm. Like maybe this is the payoff that we finally get for sitting through all those games without Cinderellas. So I do think 5.5 could be the difference in this one. But again, every single metric that Houston does well, like even looking at their 3-point percentage, like people forget that they're shooting almost 40% as a team. I think if anybody can slow them down, it's this Duke defense. Because have we even talked about Duke's defense?
Duke has a great defense.
What they did to Alabama, they score 65 points?
Yeah.
Limiting Alabama in that offense to 65 points is an accomplishment. And I know it's like a long trophy case of accomplishments for this Duke team,
right.
But like their defense, as good as their offense is, their defense is really good too.
That's true. The one thing I will say about Alabama, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, because I do agree and believe that Duke is the best team remaining in the tournament. I understand why they're favored to win it right now at minus 110, is that Alabama is not a good rebounding team at all. So Houston is different, and Houston can be physical in a way that other teams cannot, and I feel like that could really frustrate the Blue Devils. Also, I'm really curious about the experience factor here. 4 of the 5 starters for Houston were in this position last year, or at least in the Sweet 16, are back. So it's very much an interesting, and I've heard this mentioned as well, if you want to be great in college basketball, you have to have either a lot of experience, which Houston has, or you have to have a ton of blue chip players, which Duke has. So we're going to see those two different sides of the equation come together in this game.
Yeah, I don't think the spotlight's going to be too big for Duke, and especially Cooper Flagg, because remember when we first started talking about him, when he was, what was it, the Team USA practice?
He was 10. He was a little guy.
He was a 9-year-old boy defeating LeBron James in one-on-one. But the story is that didn't he go to Team USA's practice and
yes.
all the stars were like, whoa.
They raved.
Who is this guy? And that's going against NBA superstars. So if Cooper Flagg can do that against the best players on planet Earth, I feel like he can still probably do it against Houston.